Hey, Liberty North AP Psych testers. Um, so again, this will be the last, just a reminder, this is the last live stream of this week. No live stream on Friday, so take the day off, get some work done. And then also all of you who are testing starting on Monday, I think AP Gov is on Monday. Good luck, wish you the best. So again, we still have plenty of time with AP Psych, so good luck. And if you need to take a break, and concentrate on some of your other AP tests, please do so. And then know that you can always go back and watch these. The videos will be posted on YouTube at a late, right after it's done. So, okay. All right. So if you want to get out your notes or your AP learning targets, however you want to do it, today is a big one. Okay. So this is going to be a 10 to 12%. Usually it is. So usually this is one of the big hit units. It's cognitive psychology. Which are chapters 9, 10, and 11, which are memory, thinking, and intelligence. Okay, so this is the part of the chapter or of the class that focuses on cognitive thinking, psychology, and processes. Okay, so it's 3 chapters. Again, this is going to be a part of your test, so it will be one of the 8 aspects or 8 tasks for question 1, or it can also come into play on question number 2, because again, standardization, validity, validity, and reliability come back up. Okay. All right. Sorry, I just finished eating lunch. Okay. So again, look at your AP learning targets, know your vocab. Okay. And then also know your names for chapter 12 or chapter 11. Okay. So again, your big name chapters are 4, 8, and 11. Okay, besides the prologue and the historical people. But again, I think if you have your names on your AP notebook and you look down those, you should be fine. Okay, but there are a lot of names in chapter 11 and they can pop up. Okay, all right, so let's kind of work through this real quick. Okay, all right, so the first thing is to make sure, again, that you can identify different cognitive processes. Okay, and we went over that. That was actually a quiz question that you had. Because it's a learning target, okay? So be able to specifically identify thinking processes, okay, of which memory is one, thinking is one, obviously. So we talk about concepts, schemas, and then intelligence, again, so creative intelligence, problem solving, heuristic algorithms, again, those are all examples of cognitive processes. If you get something with that on the test that should not be a problem for you to handle, just don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. Okay, all you got to do is think back through the entire chapter, the entire class, and just think of a thinking process. Think of a way that we think. Okay, all right. So again, that would even be sleep is a cognitive process, right? Because the brain's active. So anything in there that where the brain is active, consciousness is a thinking process. Okay, all right. Or cognitive process. Okay. All right. All right. Then, so that's kind of the big summary on there. But the AP and the College Board do like you to be able to identify cognitive processes. So make sure that you can do that. Okay. And give me examples of some of which these are the 3 big ones, but there are others. Okay. So if you don't want to use those, then pick another one and use it. But these are the kind of the big 3. Okay. All right. Chapter 9 is pretty simple. That's memory. Okay. So again, make sure you know the systems of memory, storage, encoding, and retrieval, and the stages of memory, sensory, short-term, and long-term. Okay. Make sure you know the differences of them. All right. Everything that will be asked will be centered around those 2 groups of information. So if you go back and you look at your AP learning targets, I think there's 9 of them for chapter 9 memory, but they all rotate around these 2 things. Okay. All right. So know your stages, know your systems. Well, systems and stages. So let's do this. Yeah, I think we have some. So we'll also call this processes. Okay. All right. So if you remember, we had some confusing language on this in chapter 9. So Processes are encoding, storage, and retrieval. Let's do that, okay? So processes are storage, encoding, and retrieval. And my stages and systems are pretty much synonymous. So that's going to be short-term, long-term, and sensory memory, okay? All right? Okay? So know those three, know those 6 terms, and know how they relate to each other, know how they work, how the processes work in each stage of memory, okay? All right? All right, chapter 10, okay, which is thinking and language. All right, so we're just going to do the thinking part now. And I think this was only 3 learning targets. It's very short. So everything rotated around problem solving and creative thinking. So know your problem solving methods, which again are algorithm or heuristic. Algorithm is step by step. Heuristic is quick, shortcut. Okay, know strategies and errors with each one. Okay, so know when one problem-solving technique would be more appropriate over another. Again, all of us use algorithms and heuristics. Just know maybe where one would fit more than the other. And then also know errors, that could occur if I use the wrong one. There are a lot of errors with heuristics because they're shortcuts, okay? But there could be errors in algorithms as well. So remember when we did the different activities and games, and they were each made to be solved by an algorithm or a heuristic, but yet we still tried to use the other one at times, okay? They really like this, know the characteristics of creative thinking. So again, recombination, mental flexibility, those insight, those things that we talked about in class, so make sure you know that, okay? All right, so again, learning target number 1 is identify problem-solving techniques, and number 3 is strategies and errors for both, and then 2 is about creative thinking, okay? Which again, you could use up here as a cognitive process, okay? Also problem-solving, be a cognitive process, okay? All right? All right, chapter 11, which is the big one. Okay, so if you look at your learning targets, there are far more from chapter 11. So it has more of the chance of getting something that's hit on it. Plus there are topics in here that kind of bleed over into other ones, especially the research ones. So make sure you know chapter 11 pretty well, okay? You got to know your names, okay? So with the theories of intelligence, there are names associated with each one of those, okay? So you have Sternberg, okay? You have Thurston. You have, obviously you need to know the big names, which I'm drawing a blank on right now. So you have the multiple intelligences, right? Or the single intelligences. I'm going to get them. Oh, excuse me. As soon as I open this up, they're going to come to my head. But I'll get the book out and we'll make sure that we know them. So there's quite a few here. So you have the theories and then you have the history of intelligence. So basically the history of intelligence testing, which we went over. I'm coming back. Okay, I got it. Here we go. Okay, on page, I was trying to find the page that had them all on there. There's a page in here that has all the theories listed. There we go. Page 436, okay? That's Spearman. So Spearman's G, 1 intelligence ability. Okay, then you have Thurston, Gardner. Let's see, again, that's memory right there, right? So all that information is linked in my mind. So I think of one, and then it helps me retrieve all the other stuff. So you've got Gardner, Thurston, Sternberg, which I had, and then you have Spearman's G. Okay. So names and theories. Okay. So know your definition of intelligence, which is kind of convoluted, remember, but we gave you a good definition in your learning targets. We spent, a couple of days just talking over the different definitions of it. IQ test, intelligence quotient test. Okay, you know what your IQ is. So basically what they're measuring again is my mental age compared to my chronological age, correct? My mental age is higher than chronological age, my IQ will be higher. My mental age is below my chronological age, it will be lower, okay? So the different theories of intelligence would basically sit around how many different abilities make up intelligence. So you have anywhere from Spearman's G, which is 1, to I think Thurston and Gardner had 7 and 8. Okay. Also, don't forget with the names history. So Alfred Binet, the father of intelligence testing, David Wechsler, which we've taken practice tests from the Wechsler. Here's these big terms again: culture, nature, nurture, influences on intelligence. Okay. So right now, again, it is believed that intelligence is heritability, has a high heritability factor, right? So it is heritable. So it's more influenced by nature. But obviously, there are nurture and culture influences. Okay, we talked about how the Wechsler even looks different in different cultures. Different cultures emphasize things for being intelligent, so on and so forth. We're a very verbal country. Other countries are not as verbal as we are in our intelligence. Okay. Then again, standardization. So every so many years, the Wechsler has to be practiced. Okay, thousands of people will take it to help standardize the score. Again, 100, right, on that bell curve is always in the middle of the bell curve intelligence. So no matter what, if I score 100, my mental age equals my chronological age, which is perfect, okay? Anything to the right of that is going to be my mental age is higher than my chronological age. Anything to the left of that's going to be my mental age is lower, okay? But they have to standardize that bell curve, so they have thousands of people take the test, and then they standardize it, okay, with the results. Validity, that's a big question. Am I testing intelligence? We took several different types of intelligence tests. How many abilities should I test? Is there just one? But I want to make sure that I am testing what I'm supposed to test, which is intelligence, okay? Which right now the Wechsler is the leader. And then reliability. If I take a valid intelligence test, I should score in the same range. So if you remember, we went over those results and it said, 95% confidence, it was 95% confident that if I took the test, I would score within this range of 15 points, okay? So that's reliability. If I take it over and over and over, will I get the same score? And that's part of the standardization process as well, okay? All right. No relevant labels to IQ. So remember savant, we went over savant, prodigy, intellectual disability, which it would be to the left. Starting at 70, we start to have diagnosis of intellectual disability. Culture fair testing, which we kind of talked about here. Okay. All right. So make sure names are huge here. Make sure you have a working knowledge definition of intelligence. Okay. Know your theories. Know how culture, nature, nurture influence intelligence. Different types of IQ tests. Okay, all this right here. Know the bell curve. But then also just don't forget, I don't think I put on here, but what does IQ mean? Okay, and basically it means the quotient, right? So IQ equals mental age over chronological age times 100. Okay, all right. What is my mental age? What is my mental level of functioning compared to my chronological age? Okay, so if I am 18, but mentally I am functioning at a 25-year-old level, I'm going to have a pretty high IQ because my mental age is much higher than my chronological age, correct? But if I'm 18 and I'm functioning at a mental age of 10, then we're going to be looking at intellectual disability because you're going to be far left, okay? Because your mental age is so much lower than your chronological age, okay? All right, then finally, last one is chapter 10, okay? So, which is the second part, which is language. So chapter 10 is thinking and language, and there's only one learning target for language. So just know biological, which would be critical periods of language, right? Cultural and cognitive factors in language, all right? And so we spent a lot of time on that specific target, and that was a quiz question that you had to identify, okay? So Biological influences, we have, critical periods. Our brain seems to, ages 1 to 7, it really latches on to language, right? And that's where it biologically develops the ability to, in the stages of language, okay? So it is biological. My brain is set up to develop language, and it really sets the foundation at first through 7 years, okay? Culture, okay? Language is culturally based. Right? Remember we talked about that. So different cultures use different words, different pronouns. In America, we have more personal pronouns than any other language. So we have more references to me. Getting back to that, are we collectivistic or individualistic? So you could just use that there. We have individualistic language, collectivistic language, right? Okay. And then cognitive factors. Okay. So language, we talked about how as language and cognitive development are parallel, they increase together. So as my cognitive development increases, so does my language development. Okay, so they're one and the same pretty much. They parallel each other in development. So cognition and developing ways of thinking impact my language, right? So as my ability to think and process more, my language ability should go up, right? My vocab, syntax, semantics, all that stuff should go up as well. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is a big one. Okay. And I guarantee you this unit, these chapters 9, 10, 11 are going to be on your test. Okay. It'll be a task on number 1, or they can weave it in to number 2, especially with intelligence. Okay. So just make sure you're ready for this one. All right. So far, if I had to gamble, I would definitely say, obviously, 1 is on there, right? That's question 2. That's research. Biology, neuroscience is going to be on there. Cognitive psychology is going to be on there. Okay, I mean, without a doubt. And I still would gamble that development will be on there as part of the task, but those are the big 3 every year that are hit. So make sure your vocab, AP learning targets, and then also remember your names for chapter 11. Okay, 4, 8, and 11 are big names besides the prologue. Okay. Hey, remember, no live stream tomorrow. On Friday, you guys take the day off, get some work. Good luck, AP test takers that start on Monday. And then we'll do 12 and 13 on Monday, and then 14 and 15 on Tuesday. And then we will have reviewed all the content that's on there. And then we'll just kind of talk about some tests. And we'll give you some review questions, okay? All right, have a good weekend.